Good morning, everybody, and thanks for braving the Docklands Light Railway this morning to make it here for our first sessions. Now, this is the third year that Travel Perspective has been involved with World Travel Market in bringing some of the best names in social media to London. We've had an amazing lineup of speakers. Yesterday we had Facebook, an amazing session. I don't know if you were there, packed room, standing room only, hearing about what travel means to Facebook. We also heard from a lot of other big names. We heard from destination marketing organisations in the UK, hearing how Britain is marketing itself digitally with video and with social media. Some fascinating insights there. We've also been doing lots of work this year with travel startups for the first time. So we heard from 3 companies that are being disruptive in the travel sector yesterday. It was really interesting to hear them and to find out what they're trying to do to sort of break the hold of the dinosaurs in this industry. And we continue with that today. We have 2 really good sessions later on this morning. Aimed at people who are interested in creating a travel startup. We got some advice from some funding accelerators and also from some successful startups. And we also launch our innovative WTM Fresh elevator pitch competition this lunchtime. We've had 12 startups in the trip planning and travel inspiration sector pitching to appear here today, and we have 5 on our shortlist who are going to do 5-minute presentations to a panel of judges, and 1 will walk away with a £5,000 prize to help them grow. Throughout the year, we at Travel Perspective work with travel companies and organisations on their social media and digital marketing efforts on things like managing social media channels on their behalf, developing engaging social media and digital campaigns, and delivering training. And when I say Travel Perspective, that's me. I'm Mark Frary, and my colleague at the front here, Steve Keenan. I don't know if he can stand up. Say hi. Our background is in print journalism. We were both travel writers and editors, and then about 4 years ago we started thinking, actually, maybe the newspaper is dead or dying and we should be doing something else, and that's when we got more involved in digital and social media. I'm very keen to acknowledge the amazing support that we've had for the WTM Travel Perspective sessions this year from Sabre Travel Network and Siren Communications. They've been the best partners you could imagine, and without them we couldn't have put on this good program for you. I've put the wireless details if you're planning to tweet about the session or do anything like that. Hopefully that will work for you, and there's also the event hashtag up there if you're planning to write about us. There's a little bit about Travel Perspective as well. And then finally, that's enough for me. I know that you're not really here to hear me speak anyway, but I'd like to introduce you to Sarah McDonald now, who looks after travel at Google. Now, I'm sure the number of people in this room means that everybody has to be interested in Google, don't they? You either love it or hate it, but you have to know about it. And what I'm hoping is that Sarah is going to explain, where Google touches the travel experience all the way through. It's in everything. It's into email, it's in search, mapping, videos through its acquisition of YouTube. And recently it's become a competitor of Specsavers too, with the launch of Google Glass, which I'm sure a lot of people are interested in. And I don't know if you saw that someone actually got arrested recently for driving a car wearing Google Glass. But I don't know if Sarah's going to talk about that. But without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Sarah up to the podium and to talk about Google. A big hand for her. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Mark. So my name is Sarah McDonald, and I head up the holiday sector at Google in the UK. And I'm here to talk to you today, not about glass at all, sorry, but about the online customer journey for travel, not just from Google's perspective, but from the customer perspective. And I would love to be able to show you lots of great video and content, and certainly I'm going to be referencing it today. But because of a dodgy Wi-Fi, what I'm going to do is pull together a links pack, which will be available through the organisers at the end. It doesn't quite feel right to be describing to you great content and great video, but we'll see how we get on. So the The customer journey is more complicated than ever, and there are plenty of data points and customer journey research pieces out there to say how important mobile and social and video and different devices are in that journey. And what I've tried to do here today is to pull together some of those more salient points and look at it from the customer's point of view. At Google, we periodically come out with customer journey research. And this stuff's really interesting, and it's looking at the amount of time people spend online, how many searches, how many sites. Interesting stuff, but sometimes it's really difficult to see the insight when you're just paralyzed by the data. Certainly we have clients that come to us and say, okay, that's all very interesting, but can you show me the raw data? Can you show me that one single customer journey? Because we're trying to understand what they're doing and why. So that's what I've tried to do for you here today, is to bring a more customer-centric human journey. And this story is not just about the online customer who starts researching online and ends up purchasing online, because actually people who end up offline, online is an important touch point for those people too. So these are some of the numbers I was referencing about our very data-driven customer journey path to purchase. And the great insight for me is that an online buyer and an offline buyer do actually much the same things online. You see an online buyer still has nearly 12 research sessions, 94 minutes of time spent online, 22 different site visits. So they're doing all the same things that an online buyer does. An online buyer just does about 1/3 more of that activity. And this journey is further complicated by the rise in tablets and mobile devices. So we now know that 90% of consumers move between multiple devices in order to accomplish their goals. And one of those most popular goals to accomplish is planning a trip. So 2 years ago, when we would go and talk to clients about this growing pool of mobile search queries, for a lot of advertisers, the response was much like, well, I can't imagine somebody sitting on the bus with their mobile phone, with their Visa card out, closing the deal on a holiday experience. And so they chose to park that. 2 years on, the volume of mobile queries coming through Google are so enormous that you can't ignore that the value that something like mobile has in that broader customer journey. We see definitely open rates on email are going up because people are opening them on the mobile phone, whereas they're not opening them on desktop necessarily as much. People are seeking deals. People are sharing, especially in a holiday. There's normally more than one person going on that holiday. So there's a coordination of times and dates and verification. So deals, sharing, verification, and logistics planning. And mobile takes the brunt of how you get to and from a place. So this is quite generally how we think at Google about the customer journey. There's a period of dreaming and being inspired. And this is not a sort of a set day. This can be the whole year that you're open to this kind of stimulus. Then there's the point of research, the moment of booking, the actual experience of the holiday. And we think that the sharing piece is not just at the end of the holiday where you're sharing your snaps on Facebook. The sharing piece happens all the way through. So if we start with the first stage of dreaming and how to inspire and inform your customers to make sure that your brand is in the consideration set when they choose to take that a step further. So the classical way to reach these consumers would be through media. And what we're looking at here is a split of media time spent per day across different mediums. So as people spend more time on the internet, on their mobile phones, and watching television, it's putting a big squeeze on print. So we know that 63% of internet users in the UK are increasing the amount of time they spend online. We know that 23% of people will say they're watching more television. And of those people watching television, we know 1 in 2 of them are sitting there with their mobile device in their hand. And we know that the internet is a leading source of planning info for a travel booker, with 85% of people citing it as a valuable resource in their planning. But if you look at the other sources on the screen here and what value they give that consumer, you see that the internet is actually quite well replicating that online. So if peers and word of mouth is the second most influential piece, And you look at what TripAdvisor and what Facebook do, they replicate that stuff really well online. Even things like brochures, where 32% of people say they find value in brochures. I think that travel content online is actually being done really badly up until this point. And I think it's a real turning point. You're going to start to see much more rich, engaging visual imagery. And I see video more longer term becoming the brochure of the future. The one thing that after the migration of people looking and searching and buying online, there's definitely been that shift. But the travel agent, 18% of people value the role of the travel agent. And so for all of the choice that is available online, the one thing that online hasn't been able to really do that well is give that personalized, succinct, recommended, and quick, relatively, experience that a travel agent can offer. So if search is the gateway, can you be found? And search has been embraced by the travel agency as a distribution method. I put in £1 and I make £5. But if I'm a consumer and I'm on the beginning of my journey and I type in Mallorca holidays, then actually this is a shop window for me. This is telling me these are the people that are specialists in this product, or they've got this product. These are the people that are going to help me get there. And it's often, we'll show this to a marketing director and they're horrified that they're not there, because actually the search and the distribution piece sits somewhere else in the business. They, as a marketing director, are spending millions a year in trying to get people to associate their brand with exactly that. And actually there's sometimes a missed opportunity. What's also interesting and worth mentioning about this space, I talked about this huge volume in mobile and tablet traffic. We're now seeing 46% of all of that search query traffic is coming through on a tablet or a mobile device. And search continues to evolve. So Google is always focused on better results for the user, whether that is photographs or videos or maps or Wikipedia type information like the knowledge graph. The holy grail is that that search experience is a personalized experience. And to me, this is where Google Plus comes in as overlaying your social graph with your search experience. And this is not something that just Google is interested in. Facebook also understands the power of all of that fantastic social information getting you a better, more relevant result. And we are looking to improve the journey for flights and hotels. So if our product guys in Mountain View sit looking at our customer journey research and see 30 different websites and 22 different searches, they look at that and say, that's actually really inefficient. It's inefficient for the user. They're not finding their answers quickly. It's definitely inefficient for the advertiser because you're paying for a click each time. How can we create products, and this is where the flights find a product and the hotels find a product comes in, that helps people get to the right answer quicker and produces better leads for our advertisers. So you're through search, you don't actually spend a lot of time on search. 95% of the journey is on other web content, and a lot of that time is spent on commercial sites, so your sites and your competitor sites. But you can capture these people's attention through display advertising, either contextually, they might be looking, reading about a destination on a news site, or through interest and audience targeting. So we maybe know that they are an in-market travel customer. They've looked at travel websites in the past week, or they are a certain demographic. You also have the ability to remarket to people who you already know. So this may be people that have bought from you a year ago, or it may be somebody that visited your site the day before, put something in the basket and left. The ability to capture those people in the web and bring them back to your site is there. There are also new ways to reach customers. So imagine if you could say to a potential audience, are you interested in my product or my brand or my story, and then you only pay if they say yes. So this is the premise of YouTube's TrueView skippable product. So if you sit down to watch a piece of content on YouTube, an ad will start to roll, and after about 5 seconds it asks you, would you like to skip this ad? Then it counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 85% of people will skip that ad. But for the remainder, they've chosen You have a product or story, you've got something that has engaged me, so I'll watch to the end. And the advertiser is paying for only that engaged user. And those costs are around between 3p and 10p in the UK at this stage. So a really powerful way to reach an in-market audience. And this is the mechanic that Turkish Airlines used in pushing out their big Kobe Bryant and Lionel Messi ad to a targeted audience. They pushed this content out and said, are you interested in our story? And you can see from the view count there's 105 million people have said yes. This is not a viral campaign. Most of those view counts will have been targeted, paid for media. And Turkish Airlines have done a very good job in changing the perception of their brand and their product and creating a big awareness of their product in a very cost-effective way. And people respond differently to different stimulus. Some people have more emotional needs. They need to be reminded of what it's like to go on holiday with their family and why they should be going on holiday with their family. They want to be inspired to travel around the world backpacking. And two great examples of that would be the Thompson Time for a Holiday ad in 2011 and the SDA travel ad, the Eat, Move and Learn series, I think are really lovely examples of that. Travel is filled with lovely, rich, emotional stories. But traditionally, that storytelling has only been the domain of the big brands and a big creative agency and a big production budget. And through the medium we just talked about on TrueView, on YouTube, and the much lower costs in production, actually this storytelling piece is available to everybody. And actually the smaller you are, the more complex your product is, the more of a story you actually have to tell. Some people are looking to be inspired, but have more functional needs. And this is the part that I think the travel industry is a little bit weak. If you look at travel websites, SEO has reigned supreme, CMS systems, page download speeds have really pushed the traditional marketeers off the page until now. I've picked three examples. One of them isn't travel, of how you can present that kind of content that helps people understand more about the product, but doing it in an inspiring way. One is the first choice example of the Bugsy Malone music video. So this is a 2-minute video they created as an ad. It's very engaging, it's very entertaining, but at the end of 2 minutes, you've got a really good sense of that holiday village and all the facilities and what it looks like and what the kids are going to do. And they've had 600,000 people view that on YouTube. I've included the example of Juicy Couture, but you also see ASOS doing this and Bali, where they've created video as the new brochure. So it's a piece of content that at any point you can click on whatever they're wearing or whatever's in the background, and it will take you through to a product page with details of that product and the ability to buy it. And I think Airbnb have some really lovely examples. I think when you first see it, you realize just how boring a lot of travel advertiser websites can be. They've done a really lovely example of using imagery in this particular case, in neighbourhood guides in London. So if you're staying in London with Airbnb, you're not in Mayfair, you're probably Bethnal Green or Brixton, and they've just done a really good job of representing Brixton authentically, but beautifully, and you really get a sense of the place and you know what you're going in for. Now, they've managed to do that with Brixton in a way that I've never seen somebody do with Santorini, for example. So how do you maintain a strong position in the consideration set as your consumer starts refining their search? So we know from our own customer journey research that there are a lot of sites visited in that journey. So if you're a hotel aggregator, it's more like 20 different sites will be visited. If you're a tour operator or a travel agent, it's more like 15. And I think there's this view in search marketing that if somebody types your brand into Google, they're just a loyal customer coming back. You know, they were always looking for you, or they've seen your ad and they've been sold. And actually, they are looking for your competitors in that same search session. They are definitely going right next door to your neighbor directly after they've come to see you. So this is a tool that we have internally, and I put in the search term Thompson and said, well, tell me, what are the highest associated search terms 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after when I type Thomson into a browser. As you can see, Thomson Cook is the #1 competitor of Thomson, closely followed by Thomas Cook. But and I know it's really small on the screen, but there are loads of brands there. This is a screen grab of one of my colleagues when he was recently trying to book his holiday. And we sort of stopped halfway through and said, what I want to draw your attention to is up the top, there's 15 tabs open. He had to open 15 different web pages to answer the questions he needed answered in which to buy before purchasing that holiday. And we said, well, actually, for doing this, what are you trying to do here? And we came up with these 3 things. He said, is this product what it says it is? Is this product right for me? And am I getting the best value? And actually, every customer will ask these questions in a slightly different order and with slightly different weighting, but they are 3 common questions. And this is the point that people are looking for verification through reviews, through photos, through video. And the desire for this is an insatiable appetite to know more, everything about that product or about that holiday before you go. So this is an example of indoor street view that we now have. And I think in a few years' time, customers will come to expect indoor street view type views of a resort or a hotel as standard. So I think that video can address some of those customer questions really efficiently. I can't be the only person in the room who's ever spent 4 hours on TripAdvisor trying to find the perfect hotel for the perfect holiday. And I can't help but think that actually video could have answered those questions actually a little bit more efficiently for me, especially is this product what it says it is, and is this product right for me, by using people like me, authentic people in that content. I think that Airbnb, again, and I think it's something they have dabbled with because there are only about 10 available in their product reviews, are the closest I've seen to this, where it feels authentic and I've come away after 2 minutes with enough information about the product and what it is to make a decision. There's lots of great travel content out there, and definitely people are seeking videos for verification. So if you have content on YouTube, in the links pack that I'll include in the follow-up, I'll have a segment on tips how to actually optimize that brand channel on YouTube, how to order things in a logical way, how to tag things up, and how to be found, because actually YouTube search is not as clever as Google search at the moment, so you have to help yourself be found, because people are looking for you and your content. And then there's the idea of the video channel as a destination in itself. And this is something that Visit Brazil has done. If you go to YouTube, this is a gadget that sits within YouTube. And they've got a whole bunch of video content behind that page, but they're asking you, oh, you're coming to Brazil. When do you plan to be here? Who are you coming with? What sorts of things do you like to do? And who are you coming with? And they will then surface, okay, based upon your needs, here are 9 videos we really think that you should watch. They'll give you a really good sense of the kind of things we think you like in Brazil. And as the video plays, it shows up on the map there about where it is geographically. And I believe there's a point that you can go and talk to an advisor straight away if you like. And you mustn't forget to continue the conversation. So you may be aware that remarketing exists for display advertising. Remarketing now exists for search. Remarketing exists for video. So that person, that 15% of people that said, oh, we quite like what you've got to say, you can talk to that distinct audience again with the next chapter, with the sequential message. And of course, remarketing exists on all devices. But what's important is not to just jump up and remind them that you're still there, but how can you be more clever based on what you know they've done before? How can you structure the conversation to actually move that conversation along? So you need to make your customers want to complete the transaction, either online or offline. Now, I work in the holiday space, so with tour operators and package deals, and sadly, conversion rates in this space are really very distressing. It's, they can range between 0.3 to 1% of an on-site conversion. So there's definitely something that's happening offline, definitely, and we saw earlier how important that online research is to offline bookers. I think this tells me that we need to be offering those consumers a common experience across all of those channels. They want to be recognized, and we need to attribute better. We need to, this is obviously a small part of a bigger picture. We need to be a little bit more clear about that. A thing to consider about your customer on their journey as they get to a point where they are refining and looking at pricing is that a sense of urgency is being created. So Booking were one of the first to start this, the idea that there's only one room left, there's only one seat left, and this idea has been quite widespreadly copied. If you're not doing it, you need to be aware that this is what your customer is being subjected to, a sense of urgency and panic. If you don't act now, you've lost it. And the pure online journey is not even half the picture. So I think I talk to a lot of businesses that have an offline team and an online team, and there's talk of an online customer and offline customer. There's huge overlap in these people. They don't see themselves as an online customer or an offline customer. You see, in this particular research, there was 28% of people who researched soft package holiday purchases, researched offline, purchased offline. So actually, the majority of that audience had some touch point with online. Mobile complicates this journey further. Tablet, not so much, because actually the tablet is now the replacement for the at-home laptop. The tablet's not a mobile device. The tablet lives pretty firmly on the couch for most people. And as a result, the conversion rates that we see on a tablet are really similar to what you'd see on desktop, and in some cases higher. Mobile, it's a slightly more different story. But we do know that 39% of UK smartphone users who started the research on their mobile later purchased on their computer. We have some other research where we're looking a little bit more closely at, well, okay, if they're not pressing the button on the mobile device, but it's part of the journey, what are the other actions that people are taking to continue their journey? And we saw that 43% continued research, 34% visited a retailer's website, 26% shared information, which is something I'm really hot on, the idea that this is not just a single person's journey, there's several people in this mix. 8% visited a store, 12% made a purchase, 11% called a business. So as you're building out your mobile asset, you need to make it easy for people to make these follow-ons. You need to be able to measure it, and you need to be able to add some value. So now that they've booked with you, how do you continue to engage? There's a really nice period in between them purchasing with you and then actually taking the holiday, where you can use content. You have a right to engage with that customer in either making life easier, so information like FAQs, transfer information, information about Wi-Fi facilities they may be curious before they go, or pumping them up. You know, they're going on holiday. How can you supply them content that gets them excited about the places they're going to see, the excursions they might take, and the restaurants they might dine in? And when they're actually on holiday, they're never switched off, sadly. So 81% of smartphone users have looked at local information whilst on holiday. 89% of social media users are sharing status updates on holiday, and 86% are sharing photographs. So a lot of people may be dormant all year on Facebook, but the holiday is the one point that they come to life and start showing off. And I feel that there's a disconnect between, there's an opportunity for the holiday or the people that took you there to be part of that celebration somehow, but I've not seen it done so far. And it's a space that you don't want to be clumsy, but actually you're responsible for that. You sent them on that holiday. You're responsible for some of the best days of their life. How can you be part of that, that expression? And there's the idea that you can continue to talk to these people once they're converted in the longer term. As remarketing becomes more popular and we have these huge cookied user lists, it's not just about what they did yesterday, but actually can you start to see patterns in these people routinely booking, dreaming, researching at certain times? Can it become the new CRM where you're not just reaching people through email, but you're reaching them through display networks at a time that you know is important for them? So that's it from me. In summary, is to reach your consumer at every stage of this new customer journey across multiple devices and ensuring that they have a single seamless experience across offline and online channels. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that, Sarah. That was a fascinating presentation. I don't know if you've got a couple of minutes, Sarah, just to take questions from the audience.
Yes.
I think the thing that I found most fascinating now was the worrying statistic of conversion for store operators. Very, very low, a lot lower than I would expect. Does that surprise you?
Well, I've been dealing with those conversion rates for a number of years. I think a big revelation to me was, it's not until mobile conversion rates were so little that we started looking more closely at mobile and saying, okay, well, this is obviously just one part of the journey. There's lots of other things happening here. And when you look at the online conversion, you think, well, why did we never ask that question about a 1% or a 0.3% online conversion? And I think for a lot of people, they want the website as a standalone, right? It must pay for itself. It must deliver bookings. But actually, very few people, I think, take into consideration the bigger picture, the impact of, on stores and on phones that web drives.
And do you do any research on customer attitudes to remarketing? Because, anecdotally, when I speak to people, they say, I find it a bit spooky when I've been looking for my Marks & Spencer's underwear and then find an advert for that when I go somewhere else. I mean, do you look at how people react to that sort of targeting?
No, we've never done a piece of research around that. I think everybody just has their own stories. It feels to me that people used to find it spooky and now people understand it a little bit more. But maybe that's for next time.
What do people think in the audience? Who likes that they find adverts that are targeted to them when they go to other sites? Hands up if you like that. And who doesn't like it? Sorry, I just had to ask that question. Okay, we have time for 3 or 4 questions. I'll just walk around with the microphone. If you can say who you are.